is Mikaela and I will be your chef instructor for today. Today we're making build your own scones, and here is the recipe. Alright, okay, so we are going to get started with our ingredients. I'm going to introduce each ingredient as I add it into our big bowl. So our first ingredient is our flour. So this is just all-purpose flour. We're just going to add this into our big bowl, right? Then our next ingredient is sugar. So we use just all organic cane sugar. Any sugar is fine. If you want to use regular white sugar, that would work too. And this is 1/4 cup of sugar, and this is 2/4 cup of flour. All right. Then we're going to add our baking powder, and we're going to add 1 whole tablespoon of baking powder. And it's important to add baking powder because it helps our flour rise. And finally, we're going to add in our salt. We are going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to use our whisk, and we're going to mix in all these dry ingredients. Just like that. And then Mr. Ben here is going to grab our cold butter out of the fridge. So you see, you want all the ingredients mixed in. All you need is one bar. Yep. So here is our cold butter. Oh, sorry, I'll slow down. Thank you. So here is our cold butter, and what we need is 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. So we have 1/4 cup, and then Mr. Ben is going to run and get us, oh no, we actually have enough. So what we're going to do, we're using, this is 1/2 cup of butter, and we're going to cut it in half so we have 1/4 cup with our chopper. See? So then this is 1/4 cup, and then we're going to get 2 more tablespoons out of it. Right here. We're going to place our other butter, which we don't need, to the side. All right, I'm trying to slow down, okay. So, with our butter, we are going to do this fun thing where we're going to cube each stick of butter to make it into little tiny squares. We're going to use our chopper. And see, there's 1 stick, and then we're going to do a little cube, just like this. And then we're going to add those little cubes into our flour. All right. So why are we doing this? It's important to do this because this is how we make our dough with a nice flaky buttery texture. All right. Just going to add our cubes into our flour. And it's important that we don't touch the butter too much because you don't want the butter to get overheated, which can make our dough gummy. But it's an easy fix. You just throw your dough into the fridge, and then you can restart once it cools down. Sprinkle this all in. So now that you have your butter into little cubes and it's all added into your dough or to your flour mixture, here's what we're gonna do. Push this to the side. So you see the butter is added into the flour, and what you're gonna do, you're gonna use your hands. It's gonna be a little messy. You're gonna use your hands and you're gonna knead in the flour with the butter. So what that means, we're gonna hold our butter and we're gonna press it against the flour, and then you're gonna separate the flour, or the butter. See, it has like little cubes. And what we're trying to do is make it into like a crummy texture, which also helps with the flakiness of the scone dough. So this is gonna take a little bit, maybe like 3 minutes or so. Maybe like 3 minutes or so, see? So we're just gonna put it in a little bit. Yep, there you go. So you're just gonna see how I'm pushing the butter against the flour, and we're making little crumbs. So we could do this a little bit faster, but again, you don't want to overheat the butter, so you have to be careful. So let's look at the dough. See how it's like a little bit crummy? That's what we're looking for. All right, so this is gonna take just a few minutes. And a lot of people freak out, you know, when they're starting to do this because they think that it's too dry. But again, guys, we have more ingredients to add. So this is just the beginning of making our scone dough. Also, fun fact about scones. Scones are actually like a pastry, or not a pastry, a biscuit-like pastry. So you could use the same scone recipe just to make regular biscuits too and not add anything in it. All right. Start mixing it in. All right, so do you guys see what I'm doing here? You see the crumminess of it? That's what we're looking for. Just like that. All right, so our next ingredient we are going to add is our milk. So when it's nice and crummy, all right, this is good. Good enough for me. So we're gonna add in our milk. And since this scone batter makes a lot of scones, it actually makes 12 mini scones. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make 2 different versions of the scone. We're gonna make a sweet version, and then we're also gonna make a savory version, which is super exciting. So you can mix it with your spoon for right now, and then we are going to separate the dough, and then we're gonna do one sweet and one savory. So I'm just gonna mix this in. We can also use our hands too. I just want to get this all mixed in right now. And again, you don't want to over mix it, okay? Because this is a flaky like pastry. So you just want to mix it until all the flour is gone. But you don't want to over mix it because when you over mix flour, the gluten gets really tense. How much milk? How much milk? It is 1 cup of milk plus 2 teaspoons. So, okay, so here is our scone dough right now. And then we're gonna split it. Just split it in half, or however much you wanna split it. If you don't wanna split your scone dough, that's fine too. I'm putting half in here. So now we have half of our scone dough in here, and then we have our other half of scone dough in this bowl. So I'm gonna start with our sweet version first, okay? So since you have half a scone recipe here, you're gonna use half of the add-in. So what I'm going to do for our sweet is going to be our chocolate chips. We're gonna just sprinkle in our chocolate chips. And then we're gonna add in, this was half a cup of chocolate chips. And then we're gonna add in our vanilla, and this is just 1 teaspoon of vanilla instead of 2 teaspoons. There you go. And finally, we're gonna add in our orange zest, which is just 1 teaspoon instead of 2 teaspoons. All right. So we have that there. And now this is when you can use your hands. You can start mixing it together. And then we're gonna add a little bit of flour too, as we take it out of the bowl to make little scone shapes, okay? So here's our chocolate chip scone batter, or dough, all right? And then we're gonna add a little bit of flour to our table. I'm gonna place this down here. We can add a little bit more. Thank you. Just a little bit, just to get it into the right shape. All right. So, see, look at our dough now. Now it's like good shape, it's not sticking to anything. That's what we want it to be. So then we can easily shape it into the right shape that we want it. to be in, which is a triangle. Traditionally, scones are usually in a triangle or like a little mound, but we're gonna do triangles right now. All right. So that extra flour just helps keep it in a nice shape. And now we can press it down. We could also use a rolling pin if you want to. This is fine. And then we're gonna cut them into little triangles. So, cut it down. Pick this up. Boy. You can also shape them into triangles too, which might be easier for the little ones if they just shape it instead of trying to cut it into triangles. Let's see here. One triangle of scone. You can just place it on your baking tray. Right here. Can I use lemon zest and chocolate? You can. So this is your scone. You could do whatever you want to do. If you want to do lemon zest and chocolate, that's fine. But also think, is lemon zest the best fruit to go with chocolate? If you like lemon zest and chocolate, that's fine. If you want to do strawberries and chocolate, that's perfectly fine. We're gonna cut it. We are so behind. Just added the milk. Any chance of taking a break or something so we can catch up? Yeah, well, right now I'm just fixing the dough. So here's your break to catch up. All right, 1, 2, 3. And thank you guys for following us too. That's very nice. You guys are supporting the kids table. All right, so I've made my chocolate chip scones. No eggs. I didn't add any eggs yet. I've made my chocolate chip scones, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean off my station, wash my hands, and then we're going to move on to the savory scone. Okay. You can use your chopper to scrape up all the extra dough. And then use one of your bowls to put the extra remnants of your sweet scone. All right, I'll be right back, guys. So now we are back, and now we're going to make our savory scone. So again, here's our dough. In our dough, we only have flour, sugar, baking powder, butter, and we don't have any of the vanilla, we don't have any of the orange zest, any of the chocolate chips in this version, because this is going to be our savory version. So what I decided to do for our savory version, we're going to have a green onion and cheddar scone. I think that's like breakfasty, and now that sounds good. So what we can do, first, we're going to grab our green onion, grab our chopper or our cutting board, and for our green onion, instead of using our chopper, we're going to use scissors so that we can easily make equal portions. So we're just going to chop these green onions into little circles. And as you see, this is how big I want the green onion to be. Not too big, you know, just little bite-sized pieces. We're just gonna chop all the way through this green onion. And we just use one green onion for this. And you can cut it all the way down until you get to the white, but don't cook the white. The white doesn't really taste that good. All right. So now we're going to add these green onions into our dough, into our scone dough. All right. Next, I have our block of cheese and our grater. So for your scones in general, you just need a half a cup of toppings, or not toppings, of mix-ins for each scone when you make this recipe if you split it in half. But if you're just gonna make the whole scone recipe in general without making it a sweet and a savory version, you will need a cup of mix-ins. So here we have, and we're just gonna grate it. So you can grate your cheese two ways. You can either go side to side, or you can go up and down. So I'm gonna do half and half. I'm gonna go side to side so we can have like a little raining cheese cloud forming, and then up and down is like when the cheese goes on the slide. Let me know if I'm going too fast, guys. I'm trying to slow it down. Also, with your savory scone, you could add fresh herbs, you could add different types of cheeses, you could add in anything like really that you want. Just make sure it's not too wet, and you'll be fine. So with your savory scone, you can add whatever you like to do. Just make sure it doesn't go over a half a cup, because then it might get too much for the scone to hold, and it might leak out or anything like that. All right, so we have our cheese grated. If you can see, just little shreds of cheese. If you have little chunks like this, you can do two things with it. So you can eat it, or you can just break it up with your fingers so it can get into small little bits, just like that. But eating cheese is always fun to do. All right, so we're gonna move our grater and our chopping board to the side. We're gonna move our scissors to the side. We don't need that anymore. We don't need our butter. We don't need this yet. And then we're gonna do the same thing as we did with our chocolate scone, okay? So again, we're gonna add the flour to the table. You're gonna add the cheese to your green onion and scone mixture. All right, my bowl's a little bit small, if you guys can see. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna scoop it out and mix it all together before I add in some of the flour, and then I'm gonna place it on the sprinkled out flour, okay? So I'm just gonna take this all out. And if you cleaned off your station really well, then you shouldn't get any taste of the chocolate chips or the orange zest or anything like that. But it's very important that you make sure that your table is cleaned off well, because nobody wants a orangey, cheesy, chocolatey scone. You gotta keep that separate. So, all right. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I did the sweet scone first, because even though having an orangey, oniony scone is kind of bad, but it's better to not have like the onion flavor in your sweet scone, if you see what I'm saying. So, okay, we mix in our scone, and we have the same dough. All right, so with this dough, it's supposed to be like golf ball size, even though it's supposed to be mini. So I think this is about a size of a golf ball-ish, maybe a little bit smaller. But you make 6 balls of these, and then you can shape them. So you saw me do the other way of making the scone, where I laid it down and then you cut it, But this way, I'm gonna just show you that you rip it into a ball and then you shape it on your baking tray, which might be a little easier for the little ones. All right. So we have our dough, and we're gonna separate these to 6 golf-size balls. So here's 1. I think that's a golf size. Yeah, 1, 2. It's okay if it's a little sticky. You can add a little bit of flour to it too, just in case it's too sticky for your liking. But again, remember it is dough, so it's gonna stick just a little bit. 3. Gotta make my balls smaller. There we go. All right, so here we have our 6 golf ball size. So sprinkle a little flour over them. All right, we're gonna roll it. And then what we're going to do, after we roll them into this flour, just to help them not stick so much, we are going to shape them on our tray. Move this to the side. And see, we already have our tray with our sweet. If you want, you could try to do half and half, but if there's not enough room on your baking tray, then you can also just get a whole new tray. All right. Okay, so here we have our golf ball size. Could you bring the camera closer, please? And what we're going to do, you're gonna take your ball, you're gonna lay it down on your tray, right? You're gonna lay it down flat. So you have to think about, what does a triangle look like? You could press at the top, because it's wide at the top, right? And then you just pinch it towards the bottom, and then you have a triangle. And you just do it all over again. Press at the top, and you pinch it towards the bottom, so you have your triangles. Everybody see? So see, just a little triangle, just like that. See if you get a close up. There you go. Triangles. Now they're not going to be as sharp and pointy as the ones that we did when we cut them, but that's okay. All right. And also note that even if you do make them in triangles, sometimes dough is funny and it could wind up being misshapen anyways. So we're just going to pinch it towards the bottom and press it out. And then you can try to shape it up a little bit. And if you want to, you could do different shapes. You could do square scones. You could do circle, just regular, like plop it on there if you want to. If you have any cookie cutters, you could do star scones or moon scones with temperature. So the oven should be preheated to 400. And these are gonna go in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes, depending on your oven. All right, so we have our triangle scones. Perfect. And Mr. Ben is going to put this in the oven for you. And we will be right back. We're just gonna clean up our mess real quick, because that's always important and always part of kitchen time. Oh, actually, let's show them the final, where this is what it's gonna look like before you put it in the oven. So you see the triangles. Oh. One more thing, I did forget something. We need to brush our scones with egg wash. Let me just wash my hands real quick while I scrape this all up. Scrape this up, clean this out of the way. All right. And then let's wash our hands real quick. Yes, the temperature is 400, and you're gonna bake them for 12 to 15 minutes, but we have to brush our scones with egg wash first. So hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna wash my hands, and then we're gonna go on to our egg wash portion. All right, one more time. The temperature is 400 and it gets baked between 12 to 15 minutes. I'm about to do the egg wash right now. Okay, so you take your egg, and when you're cracking an egg, it's important to not crack it too hard, but just to tap it until you hear a little bit of noise of the egg. Then you're gonna put your fingers where the crack is at, and you're gonna separate the egg, okay? All right, so we're gonna crack. That's a good noise. We're gonna do it one more time. Okay, so everybody see the crack of the egg, and then you're gonna put your fingers right where that crack is, split it apart, okay? Next, we are going to use our whisk. We're gonna whisk this together, and then we're gonna grab our 1 teaspoon, and we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of milk to our egg, maybe a little bit more. We're gonna whisk it together until it turns to this bright, whitish yellow color. Everybody see? Can you bring it closer, please? So everybody can see. That's what we're looking for, okay? All right. So the importance of an egg wash is basically just to add a little bit of color to your pastry. And it can also add a glossiness to your pastry as well. So we're just gonna mix this in. All right. And we're going to use our pastry brush. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with the sweet side first, or if you have 2 pastry brushes, that would be good too. Start with the sweet side, and you're gonna brush them. Just like that. Not too much, because you don't wanna have like a scrambled egg on your pastry. Boy. We're gonna do our savory one. All right. And then for your sweet scone, traditionally they're served with a coarser sugar. So we have our coarse sugar. It's usually called turbinado sugar. Turbinado sugar. So here we're gonna add this on top of our sweet scone, and it's just a pinch per scone, okay? All right. Now, our scones are egg washed, and our sweet scones have our sugar on it, and now we are going to put these into the oven. Again, these go in the oven at 400, and they're gonna be baking between 12 to 15 minutes. And look, they're done. Look how fast those 15 minutes went. So these are our final product of scones. So we have our savory scones here, and then we have our sweet scones here. And they are absolutely delicious, see? You can find this recipe on our website, and we're also selling kits as well. Thank you for watching the Kids Table.